Hey, and welcome back, friends, to another episode of Friends with Boundary. My name is Dr. Chris Chung, and welcome back. Hope you did enjoy the first episode. Now, I noticed I had to do a lot of retakes because I'm starting to learn how to make, a good engagement. Learning about that sound didn't sound really good in the first episode. So I'm learning, I'm growing, and I hope as I move along with this whole process that I'll learn how to be a better podcaster and invite more engagement, definitely. And so, any suggestions and any of your experience, maybe that you can give me helps and tips, I'm totally, completely welcoming that. So let's start off with just diving into, a little recap. If you didn't get a chance to listen to the first episode, please go back. I think that gives us a good foundation of what the show is about. So some of the things that you may have missed and considered thinking about, and as you go back, is boundary setting is not just about saying no, but the biggest lesson perhaps I learned is taking it one yes at a time. And so I allow myself to know where my limits are, what I'm able to offer, how I'm being the person that I want to be, which I see and want to cultivate this ability to help, this ability to really be there for people without sacrificing too much of my own resources, time, and hurting those around me because I've overcommitted or because I think this is what I ought to be doing. So please go back and check that episode out. Today's episode, we're diving in a little bit further about boundaries and how our loved ones sometimes, even though it's not their intention, may take it the wrong way, or how people definitely feel that when we're setting boundaries, it's a punishment, or when boundaries set against us, maybe we feel that it's a punishment. Let's dive in and demystify that one. So, have you ever considered set a totally reasonable boundaries, right? And someone treated you like you just cut them off forever. Suddenly, you're the bad person, the selfish one, the too sensitive, the too cold. So, remember, boundaries are not meant to punish people, punish others. It is about ourselves and about the way we view our own capacity, right? So, as a recovering people pleaser, someone who has in the past thought of just giving myself away is moving so far away from being selfish. This really hit hard for me to learn, and let's have a conversation about that. So before we even dive in, let's have a quick disclaimer. While I am a mental health therapist, a licensed marriage and family therapy, these are not to replace therapy. These are just meant to, as a conversation starter, as things to consider to build up your self-identity, build up some strong self-values, be very clear about who you want to become and how you can show up as the best version of yourself. As I see it, I want to be a healthy person. I want to be helpful. I want to be someone that really is freely giving and also having a balance of taking care of myself. And we're learning slowly how to get away from this idea that boundaries are selfish or that boundaries are punitive. I hope that you can bring some of these dialogues in as well. Let's dive into it. So in the last episode, we talked about how boundaries setting, or maybe even thinking about them or presenting them, creates these angst within us. Maybe some emotion that come along, guilt, some shame, maybe panic. Certainly can set off anxiety, particularly when we believe we're setting something that's going to change some of the dynamics in the relationships between ourselves and our loved ones. So, among my family, they're loving families. I really have experienced a lot of support and grace from my family members, my wife as well, and her family. But there are times, especially in a Chinese family, right, when they have these expectations, unspoken words, or just these events that they want to include me in, certainly. And yet they don't take the time really to ask me if it's okay, or if I feel this sense of weight, and maybe it's all in my head, but I sense that, say, maybe some of you can certainly relate to this, that if you don't join in, that I don't randomly go on a work night to these events, that I somehow let them down, or I've disappointed, or I've been really not wanting to hang out, and have all these thoughts and emotions running through my head. And it took me a while to learn that it's okay to not join in anything. It's okay to say no, or maybe, again, taking one yes at a time. But that does not take away these thoughts that will come to me. And so I've been thinking about, where do they come from? How did we develop this sense that if I say no, if I decline an invitation, that really makes me lean more towards a bad person? All right. And I think most of us have sort of grown up, and I might be speaking just from my own experience, but I invite you to kind of share with your. When, as children, hearing no seems to come off as harsh. For a more traditional type of parenting, no seems to carry such a final weight without the reason, or without, a justification from the authority. And we don't want to have that negative feeling sitting with us when we tell other people no. But honestly, when we think about it, it's extending beyond ourselves. We're thinking now for the other person. We're trying to feel for the other person, and that causes a very much external focus of our thoughts, of our happiness sometimes, right? And I don't know. I sense that it may be healthier to let other people really carry their own emotions, maybe share with us, and I definitely will be happy if we can have a dialogue about it, rather than me trying to figure out what's on their mind, trying to really focus my actions, my attitudes, anything that I do based on their response or their reactions. Now, I know this is much easier said than done. It's probably easier to do it with peers, friends, but when I do this with mom or dad, even though they're gracious about it, they're completely okay, and even tells me it's okay, it doesn't take away that feeling. And so that burden sometimes seep over to other relationships as well. Let's go for a moment as well. A punishment is designed to inflict comfort and control someone else's behavior. A boundary does not do that, right? A boundary is just being very honest and open about what you're okay with and what you will do if your boundaries are not respected. You're not about attacking someone. It's not about disrespecting. It really is setting up a good outcome that you believe will be good for yourself and for others. I mean, that's the type of mindset I typically adopt, is that my actions is not just about myself. Even as I decline or say no, or having to limit others people's influence in my life, it's not just about myself. It's helpful to reframe into thinking, if I am able to set these, it will enhance our relationship. It will open more honesty. It will open up more relatability, and there are rooms to do so when I'm able to really be clear with my boundaries. I'm never telling the other person what they need to be doing, right? The language shifts a lot from you shouldn't be doing this, or I don't like it when you do this, is that sounds better from an I statement, right? But the way that often people approach us with their comments and demands and their boundaries is sometimes sound a little bit more like a directive, like an instruction. You should be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, you should be thinking about this, you shouldn't feel that. It's very intrusive, right? That language of you, right? You can make me happy if you do this. We're putting so much onus, so much power of our feelings onto someone else's responsibility. And that's very pushy. Now we're in turn being pushy, or maybe even violating someone else's boundary. in the same way that we want our boundaries to be respected and protected, we just should definitely consider just being more focused on the I messages, the I statements. I would probably not feel very happy if you come over to my house without an invitation. I don't feel good in saying no a lot of times, and at the same time, it really is a bit of inconvenience for me to go out to these dinners on a work night, and I do have to consider a lot of the driving, the my energy level, and it cannot even be present when I'm so tired. So I'm thinking about all these things. Of course, I'm not going to take the whole length of time explaining each details unless they ask, right? But that's where the boundary setting, the boundaries and expectation setting comes in. It's letting your loved ones or friendships or colleagues or even bosses know I am able to operate at my very best capacity when these things happen. They may not understand, and that's okay. Can I follow through with what I'm saying? If they push back, if they still try to invite me for dinner, I can set that expectation. I'm gonna politely decline those invitations even in the future, because it's really out of the way and it doesn't make sense. Now, can we maybe balance it out by sometimes doing some weekend dinner plans? And so you're offering also what you are capable of doing, right? So it's not an easy thing to do, but there is a language shift that we can adopt. So let me give you some examples as I'll read it off here from my iPad. So my eyes are not engaging. That's because I'm reading from my notes. Instead of really saying, okay, I don't want to talk about this, I don't want you to talk to me, or I don't want you to bring this up, right? A lot of use in those sentences. I value our relationship and I need a bit of time to process before we continue. You offer something stating there's value in really keeping this relationship. There's this investment in it. I'm happy to help, but not last minute anymore, right? Some of you may have encountered that. You need to do this. Can you do this for me? I know, and they don't even consider the situation you might be in. They just come and ask you, can you do this for me? So last minute, can you pick this person up? It's like, look, I'm happy to help in many areas. Last minute does not work for me. You hear that shift? It's about myself. It's about me. Last one, I'm available until 6 p.m. After that, I am out. I am unplugged. I will not answer text. I will not answer email. I will not answer your call. Some people may caveat it's in case of an emergency. Maybe I will. That might invite some people to consider all their situations as emergency. So that's something that you'll have to gauge according to that relationship. But you're setting up very specific context, very specific instances when you can and cannot do something, right? And through it all, you're also growing, you're also learning. Maybe in the future, you're more capable. You have a shift in your context, in your situations that allows you to be more flexible in your boundaries. So boundaries is an ever shifting and dynamic part of your abilities, capabilities, and identity. You'll hear me repeat those words a lot of time. So let me work with us. Maybe go with some guided reflection. Instead of homework this time, I'm just gonna give you a set of questions to think about as we move closer to the conclusion of our time today. So I invite you to pause, take a moment, and if it's safe for you, maybe even close your eyes. If it's not, if you're driving, please keep those eyes open and just provide as much of yourself as you can to do this exercise with me. Well, let's take a moment to ground ourselves. Notice your breath and notice the sensation on your skin. Is the air around you perhaps hot or maybe cooler? Notice anything else that may be touching your skin, whether it's clothes on your body or the object that you're sitting on, could be the chair. If you're in the car, also pay attention to the sound around you. Outside my voice, can you hear maybe the hums of the motor? Maybe a whisper or some undefined noise coming outside? So just engage in those sensations for a moment and allow yourself to know that you are here in this very moment right now. I'll ask these questions for you. And when you catch yourself just jumping into an answer, take a moment and, explore that answer a little bit. Analyze it. Don't just take the first word that comes to your mind and let that be. We want to invite a lot of playfulness, curiosity, some putting on our detective hat on why some of these thoughts come to us so quick. First one, what boundary have you been afraid to set? What boundary have you been afraid to set? Moving a step further, what's the fear behind it? What might be the reason? Might that boundary create a judgment about your character? Does it make you feel like you'll be cut off? Perhaps it might risk changing the relationship that you have right now. So, what's the fear behind it? What would change if you are able to say this boundary out loud to the person that needs to hear it? What do you think the fallout could be? What is the best case scenario? What is the worst case scenario? What is in between? Again, what would happen? What would change if you are to set this boundary to the person that needs to hear it? So take a moment, just really focus on the answers, the words, maybe the images that come to mind as you answer any of these questions. I'll post them in the show note as well. So if you don't have time right now during this listening of this episode, you can always go back to the show note to consider these reflection questions. So if this episode really has helped stir something up in you, I'd like to invite you to read a book. I know this channel will recommend a lot of books, and I think these are some of the key knowledge given to me to build some of my musing about boundaries. This book is How to Have That Difficult Conversation by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. Townsend. You will also find this in my Amazon affiliate link in the show notes as well. Clicking through that and purchasing through that link will really support my show and really help me grow further in my ability to have these conversations. Also, if you have any thoughts or questions, you can reach now to us at friendswithboundary@gmail.com. That will be our official email. So go ahead and I'd like to hear from you. Is there any show, any relationship, any topic that you would like me to cover in talking about boundaries and how to set them? And so just consider that you are growing, right? You may not get it done right the first time. You may not get it done right the second time, just like I never got any of them done the first and second time. But as you keep growing, as you keep challenging yourself, know that you will continue to become a good friend with boundary. So let me leave you off with some affirmation. You are not too much. You are not unkind for needing space. You are not selfish for saying no. You are learning how to love others without abandoning yourself. And that's something to be proud of. Until next time, friends, we continue to be friends with boundary.
Music